Stand up, New York Giants fans. This week, my subscribers voted on JetsCentral and I to do a video on our top 10 running backs in the NFL going into the 2019 season. And we had an absolute blast doing it. Before I get started on the video, I just wanted to give two quick shout-outs. JetsCentral is a terrific video maker, and I am grateful every time he comes on the channel. He's a great guy, and if you haven't done so, sub this guy up. He is a terrific video maker. And I also wanted to give a shout-out to Buffalo Ting, who is the guy who was responsible for my new intro. He came up with the idea, and I really want to thank him for that. His link is going to be in the description as well. So please sub both of those guys up. Follow Buffalo Ting on Instagram. And if you need any help with your intro, please check him out. Welcome back, New York sports fans. I am so excited to have JetsCentral back on the channel as we do our second installment of our top 10 videos. Today, we are going to be doing the running back position. JC, thank you for coming back on the channel, my man.
Hey, man. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Are you ready? Did you go over your list? Did you check it twice?
Yeah, I did. Just like a Christmas list. I made it. I checked it twice, and I'm ready to roll.
All right, my man. Last time with the quarterbacks, we forgot to do the honorable mentions at the beginning. Let's get that out of the way. And let's also give a disclaimer. We didn't have Kareem Hunt on the list because he's not on a team right now with his, with his suspension or whatever it was, with everything he's got going on over there. So give me your 4 honorable mentions excluding Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, so my 4 honorable mentions, number 1, Leonard Fournette, number 2, Devontae Freeman, Phillip Lindsay at 3, and then, of course, Dalvin Cook, the Vikings running back.
Good list. Dalvin Cook, of course, has a world of ability, but the injury concerns. And my honorable mention, I have a few of those guys on there as well. I had David Johnson. I don't think you had him. David Johnson I have on my honorable mention only because he's getting older. A lot of people don't realize this. He didn't start until he was 24. He's going to be approaching 27. He's had two injuries, one major one. Fournette, of course, the whole thing this year is on my honorable mention. Phillip Lindsay, because he's undersized. I know he had a great rookie year, but he's 5'8", 195 pounds. Not really a workhorse type back. And Marlon Mack. I like the way Marlon Mack finished the year. I think he's got a good future in the NFL. He didn't quite make the cut, though.
Yeah, great list.
So I am going to ask you first, who is your number 10?
My number 10 is a guy that was in your honorable mentions. It's David Johnson of the Arizona Cardinals. I still look back at 2016. What he did in 2016 was absolutely incredible. Bruce Arians just did so many good things for David Johnson. Not only can he help out between the tackles and outside the tackles, right, handing the ball off to him, obviously, but he's a great blocker, and he's also a great pass-catching running back. Now, he did miss all of 2017 with a wrist injury. And 2018, he came back, but the offense just had a hard time getting him the football, putting him in a position to succeed. So his numbers, dipped completely. Actually they nosedived. But I still want to give David Johnson the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he is like some washed up old back. I mean, he's only 27. I know you kind of referred to it as being old, but
not old, but he's not. Running back's prime is typically probably between 24 and 29, so he's approaching the latter half of that. I'd rather go with a younger back. That's the only reason why I brought it up.
For sure. But it's not like he's Adrian Peterson here, and for that, I'm going David Johnson at 10. Yeah,
no, it's fair. It's definitely fair to have him at 10. As you alluded to, in 2016, he had one of the best years in recent history for a running back. He was unbelievable. My number 10, I have a guy that he slipped in the draft that he was in because of his off-the-field concerns, but when he's on the field, he's very talented. I have Joe Mixon as my number 10. He nearly had 1,200 yards this year in only 14 games played. And the last 4 games with A.J. Green out, when they really had to focus on the run, he eclipsed 100 yards 3 times. The guy has a ton of ability. He could catch the ball. He could run the ball. He's a very talented back, and he could get better. He could move up this list. I like Joe Mixon a lot. You know how much I don't love the Bengals, but I do like Mixon a lot. And I think he has a bright future as a running back in this league.
Yeah, I love Mixon too. Who do you got at 9?
Number 9 was a rookie this year, and it's not Saquon Barkley. It is Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. I love the way he came on as the season wore along. He only had about 18 to 20 carries in his first 6 games. He was rarely used. The last 10 games, he had like 900 yards or 800 yards rushing. He had like 8 touchdowns, and he was a big part of that Cleveland team. Of course, Mayfield was the primary part, but he was a big part of that. And I like Chubb. He's a hard runner, and he's a good blocker. I like Chubb as a future running back in this league for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, Chubb had an incredible season. My number 9 guy is Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry is an absolute monster. Once Matt LaFleur and Mike Vrabel started to feed him the rock towards the tail end of the season, his numbers really started to show. I mean, I think he broke that record, right, for the most yards in that back-to-back games. Whatever that record was, outstanding job. Derrick Henry, not only is he a power back, but he's also I don't want to call him a speed back, but he has speed available to him, especially when he gets on the outside. So Derrick Henry's a guy I love, and he's at number 9.
Yeah, and at number 8, that's who I have. I have Derrick Henry. I saw him tear apart my New York Giants, and this guy, you've seen it over the course of his career. Over the first 3 years, he's getting more and more carries. I expect him to be utilized more next year going forward. This guy, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Brandon Jacobs, actually. He's a very big back. He's 6'3", about 230 pounds. He's like a Marshawn Lynch type back. I love him. He's the type of back that as the game wears along, he will beat down your defense. And I love backs like that. He's not so much a fantasy guy. He's not going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield, but he's a big back. He's a guy that's going to wear down the opposing defense, and he's going to be able to get you those tough yards. And, of course, we saw that 97-yard run he had, or 99-yard run, I think it was. The guy has big play potential. I love the guy going forward. He's still young, and I still think he has an upside. I like Derrick Henry a lot.
Yeah, Henry's a beast. My number 8 guy is Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. Mixon is a guy who's just extremely explosive. He reminds me of a younger Le'Veon Bell, right? When Le'Veon Bell was at Michigan State, it's just identical to Joe Mixon. He has a nice combination of speed and power. He helps out like David Johnson in the pass game and blocking. He just does so much for that Bengals offense, and he's just so electric. And the bright side is that he could get so much better as well. So Joe Mixon is a guy who I would love to have as my number 1 back. He's such a beast.
What about number 7? Who do you like there?
Number 7, I got Christian McCaffrey. This guy, I wasn't so high on him coming out just because of his size, but he's shown in the league that he's not only a capable back and a durable back, but he also possesses that big play potential. And I think it's kind of, I'm not taking anything away from Christian McCaffrey, but I think if Cam Newton couldn't run, they would be able to, NFL defenses would be able to bottle up McCaffrey a little bit more than they, have throughout McCaffrey's career so far. But nonetheless, we can't dispute that. McCaffrey's still scoring touchdowns. He's still catching passes. He's still racking up yards. And even though he's a smaller frame guy, he's still dominating.
Yeah, I like McCaffrey a lot. He's going to be higher on my list. Number 7, I have Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is, I think, a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a good dual-threat running back, good blocker. The only thing I worry about with him is injuries. I think he's only played, if I'm not mistaken, 1 full season in his whole career. This year he missed 4 games, but he's a great player. He could do it all. He could run. He's quick. He also has that power. He's a good blocker. He's a good receiver. He's the complete package. This year you really saw him break out, though. He was more of a volume runner over the course of his career before this year. He never had a season where he averaged over 4 yards a carry. This year, he averaged over 5 yards a carry. So he kind of took a step forward for me this year. I like Melvin Gordon a lot, and that's why I have him at 7.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's actually my 6th guy. I mean, you just laid out a whole bunch of his great attributes and whatnot. And coincidentally, he's actually hurt right now, as we're filming this right before, divisional weekend. But nonetheless, Melvin Gordon is still a dominant back. And when he plays, it just adds that element to the Chargers offense that you've got to account for if you're a defensive coordinator. He's a chess piece that you can use in the passing game and in the running game. He's electric, and he's also an underrated quality about Melvin Gordon is that he's tough to bring down. It seems like defenders have a tough time actually tackling this guy when you watch him on tape, whether it's through the middle, inside the tackles or on the outside of the tackles. Melvin Gordon's a tough guy to bring down. He's a tough runner. But like I said, or like you alluded to before, that kind of gets him hurt, and that's why he's not in the top 3, top 4.
Yeah, and at number 6, I have Alvin Kamara. I mean, since this guy, he's one of the best dual-threat running backs in the league. And since this guy has entered the league, and yes, he plays in a dome. Yes, he has Drew Brees. But that Saints team, since his rookie year, has taken a huge step forward, and he's a big part of that. I don't know the numbers, but I don't think they had made the playoffs for at least 3 or 4 years before his arrival. And over the last 2 years, they've been the best team in football, in my opinion, if you take the 2 years combined. And Drew Brees has become a much more efficient quarterback in large part due to him. His ability to both catch and run the football. He has 31 combined touchdowns in his first 2 years in the league, which is an insane stat to me, especially considering that the first 5-6 games of his career, he was not used that much. He has a nose for the end zone. I love his dual threat ability, and that's why I have Alvin Kamara. I think he's one of the more explosive players in the league.
Yeah, my number 5 guy is Zeke Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, people just think of Zeke Elliott kind of just as just a power running back. He's just a tough guy to break down. But the two qualities that really stand out to me about Zeke is, number one, he's elusive. He could hurdle players. He could juke players. He's actually pretty elusive, pretty quick for his size. And then number one, I think his most underrated quality and his best quality is his blocking abilities. When you see Dak Prescott in the shotgun with Zeke Elliott right next to him, Zeke Elliott always picks up the blitz. He never gets trucked over. His blocking abilities from the running back position are second to none. He's the best blocking running back in the league. Zeke Elliott's at 5 for me.
That's a great point you brought up about – I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to add – I didn't mean to cut you off. The last thing I just kind of want to add to that, and I know a lot of people have him as potentially the best back in the league, the second best. The only reason why I have him at 5 and there's 4 guys ahead of him is because I think that the 4 guys ahead of him can do a lot of the same things, if not better, behind that Dallas offensive line.
That's a good point. Yeah, I always bring up when I talk about Zeke. But Zeke, and I remember when he came in his rookie year, that's what they bragged about most about Zeke. And that was a great point you brought up about him, is his ability to block. He is a great blocker for a running back. And yes, of course, he's benefited from running behind that line. But I'll get into him in a little bit because I am a little higher. At number 5, I have Christian McCaffrey. I think you had him at 7, which is a fair number. I mean, you can go either way here. This year, he broke the record for most catches ever by a running back in a single season, 107 catches. He also rushed for over 1,000. He was the lone weapon in that offense this year, other than Cam Newton, who you said. And Cam Newton didn't have a great year. And McCaffrey still flourished. I like this guy a lot. And Dave Gettleman, my GM, has a nose for drafting good running backs. I mean, he took Barkley this year. He traded up to take McCaffrey. And McCaffrey's the real deal. He's one of my favorite players in the league. And I think he's got a very bright future. He is a little undersized, like you said, but there's just something about his game. He runs hard. I think he had one game this year where he nearly had 30 carries. I think he had 28 carries. Usually he's in that 15 carry range. He gets you 7 or 8 catches, but he does have the ability to put the team on his back.
Yeah, and it's underrated just because of his size. It's just a crazy thing because he's not a big back.
Yeah.
He's not an extremely quick back. He's not like CJ2K by any means, but he still manages to get the job done. But yeah, number 4, Alvin Kamara for me. You said it best when you said he has a knack for finding end zone. That's the exact point that I was going to bring up and rattle off the same touchdown numbers that you bring up. This guy gets in the end zone, whether it's handing the ball off to him, whether it's in wildcat scenarios, whether it's pitching the ball, whether it's throwing the ball, whatever. Alvin Kamara he's just such an electric player. And the funny thing about Kamara is he was at Alabama, didn't get the starting nod, goes to Tennessee, and he was not even like really the starting like bell cow running back at Tennessee either. Then he goes to the Saints, and it's just absolutely electric, and he's just setting the league on fire. I love Alvin Kamara. He's such a fun player to watch. Number 41, Alvin Kamara is my 4th guy.
Oh, he's great. He's an absolutely great player. And as I said earlier, he's a big part of why that team has gotten as good as they've gotten. Number 4, I have Ezekiel Elliott, the guy you had at 5. And you bring up a great point about the blocking. You also brought up a great point about his ability. He's a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. He's able to – we've seen him many times hurdle defenders. He doesn't quite have the elusiveness of a guy like a Kamara, of a guy like a Barkley, even a Gurley. But he does have some elusiveness, and he is a power back. There are so many times when I watch the Giants play the Cowboys where I think this guy's getting stuff for 1 yard and he's able to push forward for 3 or 4 yards. He always gets that extra yard or two, it seems. He's a very hard runner, and he's a great player. I mean, there's not much negative I could say about the guy. The only, I guess, negative you could say is he's had a lot of help with that offensive line. But, I mean, he won the rushing title this year. He's won the rushing title twice in his career already. He's a great player. That's why I got him at 4.
Yeah, he's a beast. Who do you got as number 3?
Le'Veon Bell. I got Le'Veon Bell at number 3. One of the most unique running backs I've ever seen. His ability to stay patient behind the line. Of course, he sat out this year, which some people may look at as a positive. Some people may look at as a negative. Some people may say, well, he's more rested. And others may say, well, he's going to be rusty coming back. And both are fair points. But the one thing I worry about with Bell, and I know you're a Jet fan, and a lot of Jet fans want to sign Bell to a 4 or 5 year contract. The one thing I worry about with Bell is how much he was used in that offense. He had like 400 touches 3 or 4 years in a row. That's what I worry about him. Plus, I'm pretty sure he's only played 1 full season in his career. He has had injury problems throughout his career, but he is an unbelievable player. He is one of my favorite players to watch because of his patience and his ability to hit the holes. He's not one of these guys like these speed demons, but he waits for the holes to develop, and then when they do, he makes the most out of it. I love Le'Veon Bell, and of course, he's a great dual-threat player. He's one of the best receivers in football from the running back position.
Yeah, my 3 guy is Saquon Barkley of your New York Giants. Saquon Barkley has had an incredible rookie season. He's done a lot of great things, right? Catch the football, run the football, score touchdowns, just do it all, highlight plays. I think he probably has the potential to be the first or second best back in the league right now. But the only reason why I have him at 3 is, number one, he's only done it for 1 season. I mean, you brought up Le'Veon Bell, like, having 400 touches back to back to back, whatever it was. But I would almost argue that that's a positive. Look at what he's done year after year after year after this brutal.
For 1 year, it may be. For the next 3 or 4, I would argue it's a negative. But for one, that's why I said for a 4 or 5 year contract for the Jets, I would look at it like it's going to take its wear and tear. But for next year, that's why I had him at 3. I agree. I still think he's got some gas in the tank, and he has shown the ability to take a lot of touches.
Yes, and another reason why I kind of had him at 3 too is it seems to me he's almost like a home run hitter, like an Aaron Judge, kind of like it's gain of 1, gain of 2, gain of 1, gain of 3, gain of 70 with Saquon, and I don't really like my backs doing that. I like them to be kind of bell cow, tough nose, hard, hit the line hard, and just get a constant gain of 4. That's kind of what you shoot for. So Saquon Barkley's my number 3 guy. Still an incredible running back.
Yeah, that's a fair rank. I disagree a little bit with what you said about the negative plays, but we'll get into that in a little bit. At number 2, I have Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was an MVP candidate this year. He's phenomenal. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler in his first 4 years in the league. Of course, he had that sophomore slump. The one thing I will say, McVay, what he's brought to that offense has helped Gurley. There's no doubt about it, and he runs behind a great offensive line. But he is unbelievable. He's a dual-threat running back, and he's probably number 1 on your list if I had to guess. It's either him or Bell. Obviously, those are the 2 guys left. He's a great player. I can't say anything negative about the guy. He's lit the league on fire. He's unbelievable. The only one thing I will say is he has a better supporting cast in terms of offensive line and offensive mind than Saquon Barkley does. And I guess you know who I have at number 1, but that is the only reason why I wouldn't have Gurley above Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I got Le'Veon Bell at number 2. Le'Veon Bell it's funny enough, he's actually the only like star player that I really enjoy watching and rooting for, because I don't like Gronkowski, I don't like Brady and Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham. Not really a fan of the superstars, right? The guys that have tons of followers on Instagram and just like, just mega stars. But Le'Veon Bell's the only guy who I've really liked since day one back at Michigan State. Such a fun player to watch and root for. Just such an animal. I mean, his ability to find the hole, like you said, his ability to make plays, make people miss, also truck players over. Did you see that stiff arm that he had against, I believe, Trey Kirkpatrick of the Bengals, where it was just incredible. So Le'Veon Bell's my number 2 guy. He's going to be sitting out, or he sat out this whole last year. So he's going to be coming into this season fresh. And I know you say he might be rusty and whatnot, but as soon as he gets in the building, training camp, preseason, he should be ready to rock by week 1. Kind of like what Marshawn Lynch did with the Oakland Raiders. So Le'Veon Bell is my 2nd guy.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be rusty. I think the next year he's going to be just what he was. I think he's going to be great. Number 1, I mean, who do you think I'm picking? I'm picking Saquon Barkley. I'm picking the rookie who led the league in 20-yard carries. He led the league in 40-yard carries. He led the league in yards from scrimmage. To me, when I watch him play, he's a combination of Barry Sanders and Adrian Peterson. He has the ability to make the juke moves, to make plays out of nothing like Barry did, but he also does have that ability to put his head down and get those tough 2 or 3 yards. He's an unbelievable talent, and I know it's only 1 year, and I'm jumping the gun. The guy could get hurt, but since I've been watching football, I have never seen a more talented back. And I know it's only 1 year, which is why I say it's fair to have him 3 on your list. But this guy was the real deal. I don't think Gettleman made a bad decision there with the second overall pick. He is that special of a player. And when you factor in the offensive line he ran behind, his offensive line is below average. It got better after the bye, but it's at best the 20th, maybe the 21st best offensive line in the sport. And the fact that he was able to lead the league in scrimmage yards and was second in rushing behind that offensive line is insane to me. And he averaged over 5 yards a carry. And yes, he does have a few negative plays, but I disagree when people say he's like Barry, because Barry had much more negative plays. This guy has a few, but usually he does put his head down and gets back to the line of scrimmage at least every time he touches the ball. He does have a few where he'll lose 5, 6 yards like Barry did, but Barry was much more frequent than with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, I never really watched Barry Sanders play, but Barkley's a beast, right? Saquon Barkley's a beast, but it's unacceptable that you have him ahead of Todd Gurley, who's been doing it year after year after year, throwing or catching the football and running the football and whatnot. Todd Gurley's my number one guy. The numbers speak for themselves. The tape speaks for itself. He could even, if you want him to, you could even throw Gurley on special teams and have him return kicks, and he's probably a top 5 kick returner in this league as well. Todd Gurley's the focal point of that Rams offense, yet they can't seem to slow him down. Like I said before, he's been doing this year after year after year. Such a great back, such a versatile piece, and that's my top 10.
All right, so what didn't you like about my list?
Saquon Barkley at 1. If Saquon Barkley was an Eagle, he would probably be 6 on your list.
I disagree. If Saquon Barkley, when I watch this guy play, he is beyond special. I mean, Todd Gurley, it's neck and neck. You're right. Todd Gurley has more of a career ahead of him. You know, he's played 4 years, and Barkley's only played 1. But, I mean, if I watch the two guys play, if they were behind the same offensive line, I think Barkley would be a much better player. I think Barkley's that special. He's that good of a running back.
But by that logic, that you're not really putting you're not really putting a lot of stock into the 1 year, then Phillip Lindsay and Nick Chubb and even guys like Royce Freeman should be in the top 10 as well for your list, because they've only done it for 1 year.
Here's the
incredible numbers.
Phillip Lindsay, as we said, is 5'8". He's 195 pounds. Saquon Barkley is as quick as Barry was, but he's 3 inches taller and he's 25 pounds heavier. He is a freak of nature. I mean, he's as quick as a guy like a Lindsay or a Kamara, but he's as strong as a guy like a Derrick Henry. I mean, he is a freak. He's the best of both worlds, and there's nobody else like him that I've ever seen. That's how good of a running back this guy is, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But other than that, any problems? I mean, our lists were pretty similar. I mean, it was just a matter of the order. I'm trying to think of
I mean, I think the only guy – I had David Johnson on my list. I know you didn't, and I think that's pretty much it, Yeah,
David Johnson, the only reason I didn't was because, like I said, he's had a couple injuries and his age. But he's a little older.
Fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, I literally think we had the same 9 players on our list. The only player I guess I had – I think maybe you didn't have Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I had Nick Chubb in my no, I actually didn't have Nick Chubb in my honorable mentions.
So that was the only difference. I had Chubb on my list and you had Johnson on your list, and we just differed in the – but pretty much everything you said about Zeke I agreed with, and it was just a matter of order. I mean, McCaffrey, you had a little lower than I did. The big debate, and I knew it before we did it, was going to be Saquon Barkley. I mean, you're a Jet fan. I'm a Giant fan. I mean, I had a great –
Me being a Jet fan has nothing to do with that.
We'll see, man. I don't know. I think he's that special. I think the Giants made the right pick. And I think it's going to be something we debate over for the next 5 years. And I'm looking forward to this Giants and Jets fans. It's a very unique situation that we were put in last year in last year's draft. And I don't think we'll ever have a situation like that again.
Yeah, we'll see. Only time will tell.
All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on the channel. I'm looking forward to doing this with you next week. We'll see what my subscribers vote on. What are you looking forward to doing the most? I'm curious. What list?
It's such a tough list. I mean, we did quarterbacks, we did running backs. I'm going to say right now, cornerback I'm really excited for, and wide receiver.
All right, we'll see what they vote on. But again, thank you for coming on, and I'll let you close it out, my man.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, thanks so much for having me on, and I'm totally pumped up to do this series with you. It's a really intriguing series. I really like putting together these lists and really just diving through the numbers, diving through the tape, and really just trying to narrow down my list.
All right, man. As always, cheers.